The age of science is over, and the age of magic has begun.
The time has come to once again travel back to the age when toys were filled with magic traits, although some lines had quite short fates. In 1987, Hasbro was in figure heaven. Thanks to Transformers and G.I. Joe, executives now rolled in dough. They'd gambled with a brand new line. Inhumanoids, how it did shine. But tanked, it did. So try once more did Hasbro to produce and score. This time they'd shine quite literally, with holograms in bright 3D. Would these brave knights and lords succeed, or like Inhumanoids, recede? Take a seat and rest your staff. Prepare for thrills, perhaps a laugh. The Visionaries' tale is here. It's G.I. Joe meets Bill Shakespeare?
Trust me, this is a subject we can all agree upon.
Welcome to another toy history lesson. This Patreon poll was a barn burner, but Visionaries just edged out the competition by a Philot's claw. With Transformers and G.I. Joe being a massive success for Hasbro, rather than just focusing on future releases of those two lines, they decided to do something that doesn't get done much these days. Create a new property. No reboot or reimagining. Hasbro set out to create some brand new lines with no history or nostalgia behind it. Hey, it worked for Transformers, right?
That's right!
Inhumanoids wasn't the success Hasbro had hoped, but they chalked it up to maybe being a bit too scary for kids, or too scary for parents' tastes. So in 1987, a new property was developed, with a little more class. Instead of guns blazing and the newest technology, Visionaries turn the clock back to the age of swords and magic. Although it may seem medieval, the story actually takes place on another planet, Prismos, a world much more technologically advanced than Earth was in 1987. It actually resembled modern Earth more, but that technology was not to last.
For the realignment of the three blazing suns of Prismos signaled the end of the age of science and technology.
But don't worry, smartphone addicts.
Scientists are at a loss to explain the disruption of technology across the planet, but authorities warn against panic.
Something better came along in the absence of illuminated screens and Wi-Fi. Magic. While other toy lines at the time involved transforming vehicles, teleporting exosuits, or good old-fashioned gunpowder, the cantankerous wizard Merklin
Get it through your dull brain!
empowered the Visionaries with mystic magic. An animated series was developed to accompany the toy line by Sunbow. But while the other Sunbow animated shows that accompanied their toy lines had big syndication orders, over 65 episodes, Visionaries, like Inhumanoids the year before, only had a paltry 13 episodes produced.
I think we're in trouble.
A comic book series was also published starting in September of '87 through Star Comics, a subsidiary of Marvel, but that only lasted 6 issues.
I think we're in deeper trouble.
The toy line was fairly small compared to the massive first-year releases of G.I. Joe and Transformers 2. 8 carded action figures, 2 small vehicles, and 2 large vehicles. But what Visionaries lacked in numbers, it made up for in holograms. The biggest allure of the line was the stunning, beautiful, breathtaking holograms that adorned the chests, staves, and vehicles of the toys.
Were you born to be a bootlegger, or did you pick up the trade in your early manhood?
Those are fighting words, good sir!
Put away your weapon and do not embarrass yourself.
The only one who will be embarrassed is...
Shall we continue?
Mercenary. Just as Tonka and Hasbro had clashed a few years prior with similar concepts in GoBots and Transformers, 1987 saw the Battle of the Holograms between Hasbro's Knights of the Magical Light and Tonka's Supernaturals. As spectacular as the holograms were, they also played a major part in why the line ultimately failed to be successful.
I think we're in deepest trouble.
With each figure including not 1 but 2 hologram stickers, These pricey magical portraits drove the cost of the toys up higher than people had been used to with G.I. Joe and other similar-sized toys, causing Visionaries to look entrancing from pegs for months, collecting dust.
It's hopeless.
It seemed the world wasn't ready for medieval weapons, spells, and poetry in a toy line, and Visionaries was written off as another flop by Hasbro.
I can't believe I'm hearing this.
Nor can I.
But not turning a profit has never influenced what I'm passionate about.
But I'm such a failure.
Sales figures, box office, popularity, none of those have ever decided if I've liked something or not. Enjoy what makes you happy, not what made the most money with the largest number of people. And even though I couldn't afford Visionaries when they were first released, I never forgot about this amazing toy line and couldn't wait to collect them all years later when I started building my 80s toy museum. Let's take a look at some of the most magical figures in my collection. 8 single-carded figures were released, made up of 4 heroic spectral knights.
A sacred order dedicated to bringing light to the darkness of our world.
And 4 villainous Darkling Lords.
It is so much easier to be evil.
Each figure included a weapon, helmet, removable animal chest totem, and staff.
Each has been charged with a special power.
They were identical to G.I. Joe's in design, only slightly bigger. They also featured peg holes on their feet, but were larger than the Joe pegs. And no stands were ever released in the first and only wave. The heroes were led by Leoric, and because of his raw courage,
You shall wear the totem of the lion.
and every great leader needs to be wise in addition to being courageous, so his power staff was imbued with the power of wisdom.
Whispered secrets of a shattered age. I summon you. Renew this sage.
Leoric's weapon was suitable for taming a lion, as well as any Darkling Lord, a powerful whip. And he was joined by Arzon, who provided the Spectral Knights with air support when Merklin declared,
You shall receive the totem of the eagle.
Arzon's staff had the power of knowledge.
A whim, thought, and more is sought. Awake my mind, thy will be wrought.
Having a need for speed, Witterquick was granted the fastest of Prismos' animals for his totem.
The cheetah.
And when that wasn't fast enough, he could call upon the power of light speed from his staff.
Sheathe these feet in the driving gale, make swift these legs, o'er land I sail!
And the 4th single-carded Spectral Knight was Cryotech, who took a page out of Bravestar's playbook when he needed some extra muscle.
You shall wear the totem of the bear.
And since might made right for Cryotech, his staff was also steeped in strength.
3 suns align, pour forth their light, and fill the archer's bow with might!
Joining the Spectral Knights on the pegs in '87 were the 4 single-carded Darkling Lords, led by Darkstorm, a slimy fellow voiced by the legendary Chris Latta, who was given the appropriate totem of
The mollusk.
Darkstorm's staff possessed the power of decay.
By what creeps, what crawls, by what does not, let all that grows recede and rot!
And he was unique in that he could reverse the effects of his staff, if he so chose.
Power of rot, obscuring truth, what once was old, restore to youth!
He was aided by Kravex, also voiced by Chris Latta, but this time using his trademark Starscream, Cobra Commander, decomposed screeching voice.
For enough money, you would betray yourself!
Kravex countered Arzon's aerial exploits with his totem,
The Phylot.
a Prismosian pterodactyl-like creature. Kravex gave John Carpenter a run for his money when it came to being the master of horror in the 80s, thanks to his power staff.
A mist-filled pit, dark, dank, unclear, that's all before me with frost-fingered fear!
Every villainous group needs someone who cowers in the face of the brave heroes. And for his cowardice, Lexor was given
the armadillo.
Be assured it was not cowardice!
silence before I bash you!
There's no need to shout.
And when the armadillo's hard shell wasn't enough to shield him from danger, his staff provided the power of temporary invulnerability.
The arrows turn, the swords repel, may nothing pierce this mortal shell!
And to counter the strength of the bear, Sindar was given a Kong-like strength by Merklin, who, much like Zodak in Masters of the Universe, was more concerned about maintaining balance than tipping the scales to one side or another.
I give you the gorilla totem.
And when Simeon's strength didn't dish out enough destruction, Sindar's power staff smashed stuff real good, as long as the lovable ape could remember the rhyme to summon the power of destruction.
By nature's hand, by craft, by art, what once was one, now fly apart!
Each side also had a female character, but unfortunately neither was made in 1987 or was planned for the unreleased 1988 lineup. For the Spectral Knights there was Galadria, who was gifted the totem of the dolphin.
Thus, it is fitting that you shall have its totem.
Since she possessed no staff, she was also able to pilot vehicles, and in the comic she had a shield with the power of healing.
By warmth of heart, your pain I feel. Grant me the power your wounds to heal.
Her rival was Virulina, who challenged Galadria's aquatic exploits with the totem of the shark.
Thus, it shall be your totem.
She could also pilot vehicles, and in the comics possessed a shield with the power of disease.
Wind of sickness, illness most vile, strike down my enemy with disease revile.
4 vehicles were also released, 2 for the Spectral Knights and 2 for the Darkling Lords, and each included a figure.
Sounds like a motor.
That is impossible! Motors aren't supposed to work anymore!
These characters may not have received power staves, but they were granted other magical ability. The power to bring life back to the seized engines of Prismosian vehicles.
This must be the great power Merklin promised us!
There was the Lancer Cycle, which included Ektar, a police detective before the fall of technology, and because of his slyness, was granted
the totem of the fox.
Ektar wasn't exactly the master of the Lancer Cycle.
Do you know how to pilot one of these?
Don't worry.
All right then, I'll just hang on for the ride!
But that's one of the reasons he was my favorite Visionary, his make this up as I go along attitude. And plus he reminds me a bit of Mad Max, who was also a cop before the fall of his civilization and relied on his training to survive the savage new world. Although the figures that came with the vehicles didn't have power staves with magical spells, the vehicles possessed holograms with magical powers too. And in the comics, the vehicles had magical spells that could be summoned like the staves. The Lancer possessed the power of protection by beckoning, "Shield this craft from one and all, reflect, deflect, depose, and fall." The other Spectral Knight's vehicle was the large-sized Capture Chariot, piloted by the youngest knight, Feral, and because of his incredible tracking skills,
You will wear the totem of the wolf.
the Capture Chariot was so big, it could split off into smaller vehicles thanks to the 2 rear launch pods, which somehow kept working when they detached from the main vehicle? I guess Feral had pretty long range. That's the great thing about magic. Anything goes. The Capture Chariot also had magic of its own, the power of fire, emitted from the holograms on the pods, summoned by reciting the words, "Draw upon the breath of stars and scorch the skies with fiery scars." Sounds more like a Darkling Lord limerick than a Spectral Knight one. The Darkling Lords also received 2 vehicles.
One of them seems to be flying.
That would be the Skyclaw. Piloted by the insufferable bootlicker, Mortred, a scampering sycophant who earned the totem of
the Scampering Beetle.
I am offended.
Stifle thyself.
Oh, forgive me, Master, forgive me.
Ugh. And the Skyclaw could call upon additional air support. Wings of steel shall ride the breeze, invade the air, the land, the seas. And the final vehicle we'll look at today is the Dagger Assault, the massive rolling fortress of the Darkling Lords.
Not until I'm compensated!
Ugh, mercenary. Joke's on you, that's Canadian money. This slithering slimeball mercenary had the perfect totem.
You shall bear the totem of the Lizard.
A stupid lizard.
There is no such thing as a stupid lizard.
There is now. The Dagger Assault contained a chamber that was capable of stealing the magical totems of other Visionaries.
I wonder who he might have in mind.
Flay the flesh, lay bare the bone. Upon this field let grief be sown.
They've stolen his totem.
And like Darkstorm's staff, could reverse the process and restore magical powers as well.
It worked!
It also had weapons all throughout. Catapults.
You go the wrong way, you fly!
A battering ram, now complete on mine thanks to good brother Tichondrius Fitz, and a launching dagger dart drone. It's the rarest of the Visionaries toys and definitely the biggest, since the Iron Mountain playset was never released the following year. But that's a story for the Visionaries 1988 Unreleased Toys episode. All this talk about magical totems and being able to change into holographic animals has got me wondering what my magical totem would be. Figures. Yo, Snow! And that's the history of Visionaries, 1987 edition.
I knew this would all be worth it.
Got a magical musing on your mind? Leave a comment below if you're so inclined. Or share what you feel your totem would be. A wolf or a bear or a dragon or bee. And for more Visionaries, pictures and lore, thevisionaries.net is a site I adore. Hit subscribe to support this magic endeavor. Till next time, my friends.
May the light shine forever.
May the light shine forever!